No matter what goal setting tool you use, accountability is usually the one thing that trips all of us up, right? We want to do the goal, we set the goals, we write the goals down, we do everything we can. And then accountability comes and I don't know what happens to it. It goes to sleep or something. You can't seem to find it. So, if you want to stay more committed to your goals, I can tell you there are a few things that will always hold us back. And we're going to go through a couple of them. But excuses, responsibility, our choices, and how we manage what's going on around us, right? How we react to some of the things that are happening to us. So, first things first, in order to really get a handle on your accountability and make yourself more accountable to yourself and stay committed to yourself and not break promises to yourself, because I know how that feels. I've been there many times. It's not a feeling I want you to feel anymore. And so the first thing I think is really you need to discover your why. You need to discover why you're doing what you're doing. Why is it important to you? Why is it something that you even want to remain accountable to? Right. So sometimes when I'm writing down my goals and we do this in the reset process, it takes a lot more kind of inward focus, right? And effort to really think about your why. Rather than just writing down goals, we got to think about why we actually want to do them and how they align with your ultimate goal or your kudos, your known ultimate destination of success, right? So once we discover that, and you can find that in the reset process. I have a few different workbooks that I've talked about before: the Design Your Life and Business workbook, the Reset Process workbook, and the Practice Your Perfect. They all work together and build off of each other. So if you're just starting out, you really want to think about how you want to design your life and business. It takes you from start to finish. Like you have no idea to maybe now we have some sort of a vision for ourselves. Then we move into the reset process where we're going to press master reset on ourselves. So that's something that I want you to try. That's a workbook. It's easy. You'll walk through it. It's going to take you through some internal questions that you'll need to answer that only you can answer, only you know. And then we're going to go through a mindset shift. Okay. So then I want you guys to think about all of this is just practice. And like I've talked to you about before, it's research and development. So here we go. Number one is to really understand yourself, know yourself, right? Because self-awareness is what's going to allow you to truly, make progress and recognize some of the things we're going to talk about later in this process in order to help you keep yourself accountable. It's not that you're lazy. It's not that you can't stick to something. It's none of these things. It's always these basic principles that we forget about, right? Because we are told, hey, set a goal, and why couldn't you stick to the goal? Okay. So I want to dispel that. Okay. So it starts from know yourself. Know yourself, know yourself, know yourself. And the Practice Your Perfect method is all about getting to understand yourself. And that's why we have a hard time being accountable, because a lot of times we're just kind of going through life on autopilot and we're not really thinking about why we're doing what we're doing. All right. So first off, discover your why, know your kudos, understand where you're going and why you want to go there. Then I want you to look at your strengths and your weaknesses and the dangers that are presented to you. So when you think about your strengths, the strengths are, I like to think of your life as a loaf of bread, right? We're in the oven, we're still always baking, right? And it's being sliced up along the way. And you can pull out a slice of your life and you can look at it and say, I was amazing at X, Y, and Z. Or people always told me I was really good at this when I was a kid. Or people told me when I was a teenager, I was amazing at this. Or I started a business when I was 15, or I used to work and people would tell me these things. You pull out these slices and you look at different aspects of your life to kind of see what people were telling you, what you perceived as your weaknesses and what others perceived as your weaknesses or your strengths. Then you have to look at what were the dangers that you saw or you can see, because when you look at it from a bird's eye view now, you have a lot more insight, right? Like they say, hindsight is 20/20. And so that's because when you're looking at something from, you've gone through it now, you know what it is. What were some of the things that tripped you up, right? When you were making some mistakes, what were the things that tripped you up for that? It could be something as simple as, I know I always talk about food and diets and all these things, but it's something that, we all struggle with. So if it's something like, hey, for instance, during COVID, my daughter was making cookies and we were having drinks here and there and we were doing a lot of movies. And so it became kind of a sedentary situation. But when I realized that you can't do those things, that's how I came up with walking every morning. And we changed it into a new habit, right? Because you could be outside, you just couldn't be with other people. So start looking at like some of the things that you've done, because you have a lot of experience and you have a lot of knowledge in that loaf of bread, right? Which is life. And we don't stop to reflect on those things and look back. So look back on those things and ask yourself what that was, right? Look at your strengths, your weaknesses, and the dangers that you saw, and write all those things down. I'm not a big proponent of focusing on weaknesses and trying to fix those weaknesses. I'm a big proponent of focusing on your strengths and then leaning into those strengths and finding a way to supplement your weaknesses, knowing what they are and supplementing. If you're not an organized person, then maybe you need to work with somebody who is organized or have an organizer come in and help you with whatever that might be. But if you don't know what those weaknesses are, then when you add people in to help, they may not actually be much of a help, right? Okay, so number two is responsibility for not only your actions, but your reactions to things, right? So a lot of times when we are taking responsibility, it's because we took an action and we need to take responsibility for that. What I want you to think about is your reaction to things, because oftentimes your reaction is what is taking away the time that you need in order to do whatever it is that you were trying to accomplish, right? So as an example, if your knee-jerk reaction is to answer your phone every time it rings, well, then it's going to be hard to get things done because people are always affecting your energy. So maybe you need a boundary. And oftentimes when you look at your reactions to things, there is a boundary that is necessary that you may have missed in the past, whatever that might be. I use this one all the time. I try not to answer my phone before 12 o'clock because most of my energy level that I have to commit to something that might require deep work is before 12 o'clock. But if I answer my phone at 12 and someone tells me something that makes me upset or makes me sad, or the news or whatever the case, then I'm not fully energized to show up and do the work that I want to do with the full amount of energy that I want. So it's managing your reactions to the things that come your way, as well as, of course, taking responsibility for your regular actions. Number 3, plan the work and then work the plan. It's the best phrase I've ever heard, and it is so true. Because honestly, when you're planning the work, you're planning it, hopefully, if you're using the 161 method, you're planning it in accordance to what aligns with you, right? And aligns with your kudos and aligns with your ultimate vision and all of those things, right? And then your values, if you've gone through that exercise, your values then dictate your priorities, right? So if I value my family, then my first priority is going to be my family, which helps me organize my day. It's not going to be work, because work is not a priority over my family, right? But if work is in my second priority, then I'll have family, and then I'll have work, and then I'll have fun, or however your priorities align with your vision. And so it's important to make sure that you are writing out your priorities in accordance to your values. That's what dictates your schedule. And then lastly, when I say plan the work and work the plan, you really are looking at your rhythms and routines that work the best for you. So if you are someone who is naturally very good at night and your energy is high in the evening, maybe you need a little bit more time to get started in the day, then I would organize your day to harness that energy in the evening, right? So maybe you do more of your, basic tasks like folding laundry or things that don't require any energy as you're kind of waking up. And whereas for me, I'm a morning person, so I'm going to do my laundry and all of those things and dishes. I'm going to do those towards the end of the day when I don't need the mental energy to do these things. So you organize your day based on your mental energy and your rhythms and your routines, rather than what you just see as tasks that need to get done. And that's taking a little bit more control of your day and a little more control of how you're going to keep yourself accountable. All right. So now I have about 9 accountability tactics that you can use so that you can find the one that works best for you. Because there's tons of ways to keep yourself accountable. But if you don't do the work for the mindset and you don't align your goals with your ultimate vision, none of the tactics matter. So let's jump into that. So the first thing is a clear and specific goal. Clarity is number one. You can use SMART goals if you want to, and that's a specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-oriented goals. And we've all heard about that. You guys can look it up. But those are things that make it easy to write out those goals, right? And to get really clear. And I talked about that in my last video, so I won't talk about it too long here. 2, you need a roadmap to success. Wherever your point B is, whatever it is right now, you may not have the ultimate point B, like you may not know your 20-year vision, but if you know your 5-year vision, you know how to write what you need to do from today to point B. And that's what we talk about in the Practice Your Perfect workbook as well, how to get from point A to point B. And how to figure that out. And all of that is the reset process and the design your life and business. So all of those, that personal vision management system is what helps you get from point A to point B. But you do need a roadmap to success. 3, accountability partners. Now, some people do really, really well with accountability partners and others do not. So that's why it's an option. It is a tactic. It's another tool in your toolbox if you want to use that. Accountability partners are great. The key that I would say for an accountability partner is to get someone who is not necessarily like doing your same thing, because I don't feel like that always is super helpful. I think someone who knows your personality and even potentially complements your personality, maybe in those areas where you might be weak and they are strong. Like if they're strong in organization and you're weak in that area, that might be a good accountability partner because they'll help you organize yourself, which is why it's so important to understand where your weaknesses are, but understand your strengths as well so that you know what you offer and you also understand what someone can offer to you. Okay. Number 4, tools. There are tons of tools out there that can help you stay accountable, that will like send out reminders and allow you to organize everything in a way for you to be able to see it and accomplish your task. So these would be things like Asana or Trello. They could even be like social media software, like scheduling software. Wherever you're having the biggest issue, just understand that tools are a great way to supplement what you are already doing. And you can add different tools to that. Just find what you need, put those in place, and they will help you remain accountable if that's how you work best. All right. Number 5, setting milestones. So remember when I say point A to point B, so let's say that's a year, right? But if you use those regular check-ins in the 161 method, you're going to check in all the time and you're going to be setting milestones at each one of those regular check-ins to make sure you get there. And it feels good to check off a milestone like, okay, I made it halfway, or okay, I'm, 3/4 of the way there, or whatever the case it is. So that is a good way to set things up using your milestones. Okay, I'd love to know what you guys think, but I am absolutely thinking about creating a Fierce Visionary Mastermind for some of you that want to have a place where you can get ideas and be encouraged and share your thoughts and your vision and have access to people who might be able to help you accomplish these goals. And so I'm really thinking about doing this, but a mastermind is a great way for people to keep themselves accountable because now you have told others and they are pushing you along. Okay. So that's number 6. Number 7 is a public commitment. Now, this means that it's not necessarily a mastermind. It's not necessarily an accountability partner, but maybe you told the world that you're going to write a book, right? And now you have your followers who are asking you about your book. How far along are you? You maybe tell them you're going to put out a chapter a week or whatever it is. You have now made a public commitment. And I like to liken this to marriage, right? It's part of the reason that like there's a public ceremony so that you can invite people and people are there and they have watched you get married and commit to this person. And now you are accountable for any actions that you might take after making this commitment, So that's number 7. Number 8 is resets and regular check-ins. Like I said, I think it's a huge, whichever method you decide to use. Resets and regular check-ins are going to be an incredible way to stay accountable, right? Because you're always checking in with yourself. That means even if you don't have an accountability partner, you're not doing it with anybody else, you are checking in with yourself and you're renewing that promise every time you check in. Okay. Number 9, having consequences and rewards. Sometimes people need a consequence if you don't show up to do it. So this could be something as simple as, I meet up with a friend, and if I don't meet up with that friend to work out, then, the consequence is that my friend is going to be there by themselves and they're going to feel disappointed, right? And they're going to feel disappointed in me. So I don't want to let them down. So I'm going to support them. And I'm going to show up. Rewards could be something like, hey, if I do if I show up 5 days a week, then on Saturday I get to relax, right? I get to do whatever I want. I get to eat whatever I want. I get to do whatever it is that you might reward yourself with. Now, the last thing I want to say is all of this takes practice. Everything I've told you, everything we've talked about today takes practice. And as Fierce Visionaries, we know that we are on a mission to create this vision and unleash something amazing into the world. And the only way that we can do that is if we stay the course, right? We have to keep going no matter what happens. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to feel like you failed, and that's okay. It's normal. And when we do our resets and we do our check-ins, then we're going to keep going. Okay. And we're going to keep showing up. We're going to get research and development on ourselves. We're going to make those little tweaks and pivots, and we're going to keep going. We're going to stay fierce on our goals. So that's what I want you guys to do. And I would love it if you leave it in the comments. How do you keep yourself accountable? And what are some tactics that I missed on this list of 9 crazy tactics? So I want to know what you guys do and share it with other people that, might need some other ways than what I put in this video. So thank you guys so much for watching today. Get out there and unleash your something amazing. And I will see you next week. Bye.